Well, hello and welcome back to another Vlogmas video. Guys, it's getting tough. It's getting real tough. I'm hoping I'll still be able to do every day, but it might have to go to every other day. Just because I have got to get my book finished. I am on a deadline and I have got to get my book finished. So I need to be focusing on making sure this Gathered Nest content is still going up as it's supposed to, and my book is getting done, and then videos here you know, are for fun for me. So today's video though is going to be a Q&A. I'm trying to find my questions. Hold tight, please. Okay, so today's video though is going to be a Q&A. It's been a while, I feel like, since I've done one of these. I could be lying, I'm not even sure really. I feel like it's been a while since I've done one of these. And because this one is going on my personal channel, I told you guys you can ask me about whatever. So I asked you guys over on Instagram to leave me questions. My Instagram handle is just This Gathered Nest. That's where I usually put calls out for questions and things like that. So that's what I did. Don't mind my cat sleeping on a shoebox up there. Darby. Oh, it's whatever. We're just gonna chat about whatever. I've got my cup of coffee here. And I'll answer as many as I can. I am gonna skip over ones that I have answered multiple times before in Q&As. We often get certain questions repeated. So without further ado, let's jump into the questions. 8 Shooting Star 8 asks, what's like the biggest thing you want to accomplish on your channel? Guys, you know, I never really set out with like, I wanna do this and I wanna hit 1 million subscribers. That felt like that, and it still does feel like that will never happen. And I think I've come to terms with that. Like, it's just a number and it doesn't matter. I see people's channels with 1 million subscribers and it doesn't matter, like their views aren't that high or whatever. I mean, it takes sort of viral videos to grow channels that big. It is very difficult with the current climate of YouTube to grow your average typical family or just channel in general to 1 million without some kind of catalyst, right? There needs to be some kind of video that really goes viral and that YouTube picks up and decides to push, because there's so much that goes into it. And having done this now basically full-time for 2 years as my full-time job, I understand so much about the analytics and the back end of things. And you know, a lot of it is YouTube. YouTube needs to decide that they want to promote your videos. It is not just you putting out quality content with good thumbnails, good titles. It's so much harder than that. I don't have any like set like goals in that way, if that makes sense. I mean, of course, would I love to one day have our channel have 1 million subscribers or something? Sure, that would be amazing. But what I really, really love is the community that I've built on both of my channels. Of course, there's negative people that pop up every once in a while, but you know, it's just, that's just the truth of being on the internet. There's going to be negative people, and you guys know we have a 0 tolerance policy on our channels. You're allowed to disagree with us. You're allowed to have a differing opinion. You're just not allowed to be nasty. As I always say, if I wouldn't let you sit on the couch in my living room and say it to my face, I'm not going to let you leave it in the comment section on my YouTube video. And I know a lot of people that bothers them, like, oh, people are deleting the bad comments. It's not the bad ones. There's still bad ones. It's the nasty, ugly, unnecessary ones. If you start using nasty language about us or our children, the crazy accusations and things like that are completely unfounded and are harmful, especially to the community, because that's the other thing too, guys. We work really, really hard to keep our videos uplifting and encouraging, because we want our channel to be a place where you can come and feel uplifted and encouraged. We're not looking to create you know, like a roller coaster necessarily of emotions with everything. Like, we really want our channel to stay an encouraging place. Anyway, so we want that to be an encouraging and uplifting place for you guys as well. And you know what ends up happening is that people leave negative comments, mean, nasty comments, and then our subscribers who love us and support us, or you know, whatever, will start to kind of argue back with them, and then it just turns into this whole big thing that it doesn't need to be. My sister and I have talked on the sister show before about this, and I've said it again like 1 million times. you really can choose your experience online. You can curate your online experience to make it more of a positive place for yourself, and that's what I choose to do. I'm a mom of 7. I have a very busy life. I pour my heart and soul into my channels and the content I put out and the things that I'm working on, and I will not allow nasty, negative people sitting at home behind their computers passing judgment on mothers and women and all of that. Like, I'm just not going to allow them into my space, and I don't have to. There are lots of places on the internet where people can go to just be mean and negative, so go there. That's sort of my feeling on it. So anyways, hopefully that helps better explain that. Wow, I ran off on a tangent. You asked about goals for my channel. Goals for my channel are to keep it positive like we have been, and just continue to encourage and support the community we already have built here. And I believe that if we take good care of the subscribers we already have and the community we already have, and we treat you guys with respect and dignity of not tricking you and lying to you and making things up and pretending things are a way that they're not or whatever, if we are good to the current subscribers we have, then I believe that naturally that will lend itself to some form of growth. But at the end of the day, I don't even really care about that. It's not about the numbers. There's been so many lives that have been changed through various things that have happened, and organizations we've been able to connect people with and all of that. So as long as that stuff is still happening, that's what makes me happy. That's what makes me want to keep going. And some other big things that we have coming out in 2019 that we'll explain a lot more very soon. But we have big plans for our community, and it's not going anywhere, and I hope it grows. But if it doesn't, I love the people we have right now just as they are. Kaylee Barnett asks, where do you get all your adorable earrings? Most of my earrings are from Noonday. These are from Noonday. I'll leave a link down below. I'm an ambassador for them. And all of these earrings and different jewelry like that I wear are handmade by artisans all over the world, providing dignified work for women in other countries. These earrings, oh, I can't remember. These might be made in Guatemala or India. I don't remember off the top of my head, but a lot of my jewelry is from Noonday, and I love supporting Noonday. So I will leave that link down below if you are interested. Ooh, 8 Shooting Star 8 asked again, do you consider porn cheating in a relationship? I do. I think that pornography is incredibly dangerous. Aside from my religious views on it, aside from what my faith tells me about pornography, we know that science has shown us that the effects that pornography has on the brain are worse than like heroin. I think that we have to be very, very careful. And this is not me judging anyone. I'm just letting you know, like, you've asked a question, I'll answer it. I do feel that it's incredibly dangerous to relationships, because it gets us to a place where, and again, the studies have shown this, where what normally would turn you on and things like that, like, it needs to be more and more and more and more and more once you start introducing the concepts and things that are in pornography. And you know, just to be clear, like, I think it goes both ways, equally the same for men and women. I think that there's sort of a double standard these days, that like it's unacceptable for men but somehow it's acceptable for women, and I think that that's a very dangerous message. And you know, for example, things like Magic Mike and 50 Shades of Grey, like, women go in droves to see those things and happily post on Facebook that they are going with a big group of women to see all the 50 Shades of Grey movies or whatever. And I think that if men were posting the same thing, if they were saying like, oh, we're all going to see this movie about, I don't know, some strippers or something like that, like, I think women would be, you know, to me, it's very contradictory to the sort of feminist movement and things like that. I'm probably going to catch a lot of crap for this, but I don't care. That's just how I feel. I feel that it's dangerous, and I feel that if I wouldn't want my husband to participate in something, I'm not going to. So I choose to not consume even things like that. Things like Magic Mike and 50 Shades of Grey and things of that nature. So, but that's something that, you know, Sierra and I have conversations all the time, like within our marriage currently, where the line is for us, because it is kind of moving target. And what is the saying about pornography? Like, you can't always define it, but you know it when you see it. And it's true. Like, we have this conversation about TV shows and things like that that we're watching. At what point do the intimate scenes in the show go too far? Because now with Netflix and HBO shows and things like that, like, it goes pretty darn far on essentially television shows that it didn't used to. So yeah, those are, I think that you have to figure out certain lines for yourself, because there is, I don't know that there is, like, for me anyways, a definitive, like, this line, hard line, but it is for me when it comes to just pornography in general. Is something that I abstain from and my husband abstains from. So hopefully that answers that question. Jenna Murray 10 asks, are you going to try to foster after your amazing weekend in Austin? So as you guys know, we live in North Carolina. The family size limit here, I believe, is 4 children, and we currently have 7. So we are far beyond the family size limit. So our only options would be potentially if we move to South Carolina, because I believe their max children is 8. So we could take 1 foster child. It's something that, again, you know, I have to practice what I preach, that being able to actually be a foster parent isn't the only way to help foster children or children in foster care, and it isn't the only way to help parents who are fostering. So we will continue to support organizations. There is a National Angels, Austin Angels was started, and then they formed National Angels, and they opened a chapter, one of their new chapters this year for 2019, I believe, is going to be the Charlotte chapter. So we hope to get involved there. And yeah, I mean, there's so many ways to get involved that don't require you actually be a foster parent, because that is a very special job and takes a very special person, because you have to be willing to look past yourself. Very much look past yourself in order to love these children well and know that they might be leaving your home. Miss Jessica Solis asks, how is the writing coming along and how do you make time to write? Love your channel, Angie. Thank you, Jessica. Writing is coming along okay. And actually, I'm hoping to have a big push. When I went to Austin, I got a chance to talk to a few of my friends that have authored books. Jessica Honegger's book, Imperfect Courage, I've shared that with you guys. So I got to pick her brain a little bit. And another friend of mine who was there, and her book isn't coming out yet, and I don't know if she's talked about it on social media, so I don't want to say anything. I will be a big champion of her book when it comes out, though, so I will share. But anyways, those 2 women were really great in helping to kind of help me refocus, help me figure out how to get through this final push of getting the rest of the words on the paper. Like I said, I had no idea how hard it was actually going to be to write a book. Of course, my book is a memoir, but there's themes that run through my book that I believe are applicable to everyone, whether you're adopting a child or not, and that kind of thing. So just being a really good steward of that story. And one of my biggest things I've said from the beginning is, like, this is not my story, this is God's story. This is the story of the work that He's done through our lives, and I just want to be a really good steward of it. And so it makes me very anxious. Like, I spend a lot of time in prayer before I start writing, asking God to give me the words, because I just want to do the story justice, because He's done some amazing things. And how do I make time? It's super hard. I have to be, it's so hard. There are so many things that will come at you, and if you're like me, I have like real severe ADD, and so I have a really hard time focusing, and I can't just go to a coffee shop and write. I can't just go to the normal places to write, because I get way too distracted. And here at my house, my kids are home all the time, so it is very, very challenging. I have to be very intentional. I have done some writing in the middle of the night, in the wee hours of the morning, and then just carving out the time during the day where my husband watches the kids and I write. So it's tough, though. It's really, really tough as a mama whose kids are home all the time. I know Jessica and I talked about that. Like, she wrote at home, but her kids were at school. So just, it's different. Emily Freckles asked, was there anything at all that worked even a little with your HG when you were pregnant? I'm actually going to do a story time video this week about my hyperemesis story, and I'm going to share everything, all the details, what worked, what didn't. M. Erdak says, what is the best advice for a family beginning the adoption journey? My favorite advice. Expect the unexpected. That is just the number one thing I can say, is just like buckle up and prepare for the unexpected, because it's rarely, if ever, did any of our adoptions actually go exactly how we thought that they would. None of them did. So you think that you go into it with all these expectations, and things just don't happen that way. So if you kind of can let go of those, it will make the process a lot easier if you can sort of let go of your expectations. Lisa Sarah Sheridan says, do you think you'll adopt more children? Probably. I don't know, SRHJS said, do some people say that you prefer one child over another? Of course. When you put your family on YouTube, I mean, that's what's going to happen. People make the terrible mistake of equating screen time to love, deciding that whichever kid you show more on camera is the kid that you love more, and thinking that by seeing 10 to 12 minutes of your day that they understand what you're doing all day, every day with your children, how you're showing them affection. See it on everyone's channel. It never bothers me. It literally never bothers me, because I know how much I love my children and how much I love each one of them for their own special individual qualities. And I also know that as our family has grown and our kids have grown, there are definitely days where some kids just don't feel like being on camera. They're not around, they're off doing other things. And because we're just filming like what's happening, we're not scripted. So I'm not going to chase that kid down and force them to be on camera just so that we can say that we showed every single child for approximately 2 minutes throughout the whole vlog. It's just silliness. So yeah, of course we get accused of that, but I think it's utterly ridiculous. SK Chris says, what is one makeup item you cannot live without? You can only pick one. If I had to pick just one thing, it would be concealer. Because I can't stand, I have dark circles under my eyes, and it makes me look tired and cranky even when I'm not. And so if I could just conceal those, I'd be fine. Honestly, that's part of like my 1 minute makeup routine, which I'm gonna show you guys this week. I'm gonna show you my 1 minute and my 3 minute makeup routine. So Elizabeth Preston says, what part of Oregon did you live in? We lived just outside of Portland in the Hillsboro, Beaverton area. And then my husband went to college in Newburgh, so we also lived there for a time. Autumn Salas says, do you find yourself losing patience with your kids, and how do you recoup from that? Oh girl, all the time. No, definitely. It's hard, children push all of your buttons because we have expectations, and when they're not meeting our expectations and doing what we want them to do when we want them to do it, we just start to lose our patience. I totally get that. Again, for me, taking a moment to take a deep breath and ask myself, are we really at like code red here? Are we really at critical? Is that where we're at? Because often I'll realize like you are being so overly dramatic, like you need to calm down, pull yourself together. Because and we've talked about this before, like one of the, I think the biggest mistakes I've always made in parenting, and one that I work so hard at, is that when my kids take the level up to here, I don't need to join them there. I need to stay down here and slowly bring them down here to the calmer place. When I meet them at this crazy loud level, nothing happens, nothing gets done. So it is constantly a work in progress. I mess up all the time. I yell, I say things I don't mean, and then I have to apologize to my kids. Like, I don't think any parent's perfect. And yeah, so of course I lose my patience, but I do my best to like rein it in as quickly as possible. Devereaux Manuel asks, what has been the highlight of your week? For sure this week was going to Austin and working with Austin Angels and delivering Christmas presents to some kiddos that came through the foster care system and their mama. It was just, it was such a beautiful, incredible thing to be a part of. I was just so thankful to be invited to that and get to see that firsthand and participate. It was amazing. M. Burwell she asked me about attending a physical church, or do we stream services, and then what we do to keep connected and passionate about Christ with other believers. So I talked about this in the Sister Show episode about how we have struggled to find a church. I'm actually currently reading Francis Chan's books, Letters to the Church, and it's got me like all fired up about these like small home churches. I don't feel qualified or capable to lead one, but I would love to find one. But we currently stream services while we are trying to figure out what makes the most sense for our family and what's the best option for us as far as church home. And as far as staying connected, I think one of the beautiful things is that my closest inner circle of girlfriends are all believers, and we have some really amazingly passionate women of God in my life that push me and encourage me and call me up and make me want to be better. And so yeah, I mean, I'm constantly in conversation with those people about our faith and questions and things that we're struggling with, or the praises that we have and things like that. So I'm just very, again, intentional in my daily life about keeping that connection with my friends who are believers as well. So, because it's just, I mean, it's just a part of who we are. So it's constantly a part of the conversation as well. If that makes sense. Ellie Belly 1997 says, would you mind if one of your kids decides not to be religious anymore when they're older? Of course, my prayer is for all of my children to know Jesus the way that I do. And I mean, that's my prayer for them. But it's not going to change how I feel about them if they decide later in life that they don't believe that, or they believe something different. I'll never stop praying for them, that I wouldn't keep discipling them and sharing the gospel with them in hopes that they would return. So hopefully that makes sense. Kate Baked the Cake says, do you follow Dave Ramsey or some kind of budgeting program? We did Dave Ramsey for a while. I have a few minor problems with some of Dave Ramsey's teachings, just because I think, oh boy, here we go. I think our American culture has gotten really focused on wealth building, and while I think it's important to take care of your family and all of that, I don't think that amassing a ton of treasure here on earth is necessarily the right answer in lieu of other things. It's so hard. That's such a loaded topic because there's saying that money's bad. I'm not saying you shouldn't save money or any of that. It's just, it's tough. There's a lot of little finer nuances in that. But I think the majority of his principles are really great and really good for getting control of your finances, being realistic about your budget and that sort of thing. Eliza Michelle says, any tips for someone who wants to start their own blog? Thanks and love your channels. Just do it. Just do it and get started. Done is better than perfect. Just get it done and get it going, get it out there. If you just sit back and wait for everything to be perfect, it'll never happen. My friend Natalie has a blogging e-course if you are like wanting to do it potentially for income or whatever. I'll try to leave that link down below as well. I also have a photography e-course if you, this is not meant to be a sales push, but one of these days she and I should do a package and sell the photography course and the blogging course together, because they often go hand in hand. You need photos for your blog, and then she helps you lay out like how to get your blog started and all of that. So I'll leave that down below, but I think my biggest tips are just to do it. Figure out what you're passionate about. Be yourself. Be authentically yourself. People will connect so much more with that than they will with any kind of facade or feeling like you have to do what everyone else is doing, or you know what I mean? Like, just be yourself and go for it. Ali Ramar says, what lipstick are you using? It looks amazing on you. This is a Milani lipstick. I'll have to look at the color. It's just like a drugstore Milani lipstick. Kaylee Michelle asks, from your experience, which adoption is easier, domestic or international? I'm actually going to do a whole video comparing the two, so that will be coming soon, because I don't think one is easier than the other. There's just certain aspects of them that are different, and you have to decide which hard you want to sign up for, because they're both hard. So you gotta decide which one you want. Katie Bow says, tips on making new friends in a new place? Gosh, girl, just get out there. That's easier said than done. If you're an introvert or an extrovert, I can typically just go up and talk to just about anybody. Some people intimidate me, but I try my hardest to remember that they're just human beings like me, and just, you know, to go up and be yourself. I think we get in our own heads too much. So as far as like where though, I mean, it depends on your age, if you have children, your children's age, that kind of thing. Obviously, like moms groups and things like that you can find on Facebook, and park play dates, or just go places where moms and kids go, and then just go up and introduce yourself. It sounds so scary, but Spike Sully, guys, I'm sorry, I'm butchering these names because they're just your handles, so I don't know. What are your tips for styling your hair and keeping it looking so fabulous between washes? Dry shampoo. No, it really is. It's all about like the first day, not putting a ton of product in it. And then dry shampoo, I put my dry shampoo in my hair at night before I go to bed and roll around on my hair, and all the oils mat my hair down and stuff like that. So that's a big tip. I think a lot of people try to put dry shampoo on their hair the next morning when it's already kind of greasy and it doesn't really do its job very well. Put it on before at night, and then you can slowly add products in throughout the week. But the smallest amount of products you can use on your very clean hair the first day, I think the longer you can stretch it out. And then of course, just like for me, if I curl my hair, I can stretch it out longer than if I leave my hair straight. Don't ask me why, it's just what it is. Lauren Kargakos, I hope that's how you say your name. What is your book about and when is it coming out? Lauren, my book is a memoir. It's sort of my story, but there's a greater message to my book, and I'll be sharing a lot more about that as we get closer. Publishing a book is a super long process, so I'm hoping that within the next week or two I'll be able to share more details with you guys, and when I can share that, I'll be able to sort of start spilling the beans about a lot more. We'll be able to start, like, hopefully in a few months I'll be able to share like title and cover design with you guys and everything, but I am guessing, just based on the way the publishing world works, it'll be a good year or so before my book is actually like out into your hands where you can read it. Do your twins, okay, Tanya Perez says, do your twins sleep all night? I ask because I have 1-year-old twins and they don't. Girl, they do not either. They usually will wake up once, but I mean, there are other nights that they definitely wake up more than that. We co-sleep, so they're in bed with us, so usually I can sort of snuggle them back to sleep quickly. We're not up all night. We would be if they were in their own room in their cribs. They would be up all night, but we co-sleep, so they definitely do not sleep through the night. And there's a lot of kids who don't. And that's one of the like annoying misconceptions, I think, that again, like unmet expectations. Well, everyone else's kids sleep through the night. Why isn't mine? No, they actually don't. I just think that people aren't always as forthcoming. It's just Marlene Naughton said, what names would you use for Ivy and Amelia if they had been boys? I did a whole video about boy names, but their names would have been Beau, B-E-A-U, and Leo, L-E-O. So Beau and Leo would have been their names if they had been boys. More specifically, Beau Grady and Leo Randall, because y'all know we use family names for middle names. So Beau Grady, Grady's a family name from my side, and Leo Randall, Randall is CR's middle name. Kiki M Photos says, what are you most looking forward to in the next 365 days? Girl, so much. There's so much exciting things happening over the next year, between hopefully starting to go on our road trip and do some more traveling, as well as CR and I have a pretty big announcement, something that we are going to be doing together, and I think it's going to be amazing. There's so much to share with you guys that we haven't even talked about yet at all. We have found that when we trickle out information, people just end up getting annoyed. So if we share like a little bit but not a lot, or say we have something coming up and then are not able to tell you guys yet, people just get mad. So we've been really quiet about a few things, but I think we're finally getting to a place where we're going to be able to share really soon. And so that will answer a lot of questions. Some of you guys have noticed some changes, and you've noticed that there's some different things around here, and we just haven't been able to address it yet, but we will really soon. Advice on how to be in the Christmas spirit waiting on the adoption process. K Kirkins, I don't know how to say your name, I'm so sorry, but this is such a good question, girl. Our first Christmas after we'd started the adoption process was by far the hardest Christmas for me ever. And after I came back from Africa that Christmas, I'm telling you, the first few Christmases really, like once we got into the adoption world, and once I really opened my eyes to the world around me and quit living in my own little bubble of sort of this middle class place, Christmas became a lot more challenging to just go out and like, oh yay, let's just go shopping and whatever. It really knocked me for a loop. So, and maybe that's not what you're talking about. Maybe you're just talking about the waiting and not having your child home to spend Christmas with you. But for me, it was recognizing that, holy crap, like there are children all around the world who are not going to receive anything on Christmas morning. There's not going to be any presents under the tree. There's not going to be, regardless of good or bad behavior, there's nothing for them. And it really, really like catapulted a lot of changes in our home. We've talked about before, like we don't do the man in the big man in the red suit, and that was when that first really hit home for me and started, was the Christmas that Noah was first home, and Kennedy said, "Mom, how come Noah didn't get any Christmas presents in the orphanage? Was he not good at the orphanage? Did he not behave?" Now, she was just a little kid. She was only like 6. But to you know, she recognized that, like, I get so like fired up, I can't even get the words out. But it's really, really tough to reconcile those worlds. And so it has drastically changed what Christmas looks like in our home and how we handle it, as far as the presence and the focus and things like that. So when you're in the adoption process, it's so hard. It's so hard waiting. The year that we went to China to get Rosie, I left on Christmas Day. We celebrated Christmas a day early. I left on Christmas Day to go get her, and I could just hardly focus that Christmas season, like waiting to bring her home, because it's like once your child is out there and you are not with them, and there's just something so special and incredible about adoption and the bond that not always, but a lot of times that you feel for this child you've never met. You've only seen a photo of them, but yet somehow intrinsically they're yours and they're your child, and you just want to get to them. And holidays are ever-present reminder that you're not with them. And so it can be really, really challenging. But if you're a person of faith, then I would encourage you to lean on your faith. And I spent a lot of time just praying for God to comfort Rosie and make her feel loved, and really, really prepare her heart for us to come. And he did all of those things. So it's tough. It really is. There's not any one like solution for it. It's a hard thing because in our world we're taught to run away from pain, but leaning into the pain, and leaning into the painful experiences and things that I've seen and endured and things like that has sort of caused the most change in my life, by allowing myself to really feel that hurt and really feel that pain for children and for different scenarios, has completely revolutionized the way I see the world. Y'all are gonna get me going off on a tangent here. SW1NJA, I don't know how to say that. This is the last question I'm gonna answer because I know this has gotten crazy long. What's the absolute best thing about having a larger family? You know, I think one of the best things, without giving this a ton of thought, I can't necessarily say that like this is the best thing, but one of the very best things to me about having a larger family is that there are so many people who love you. There's just so many people who love you. And one of our greatest human needs is to feel seen and loved, and to be in a family, which is why I'll just never understand why people are constantly knocking down big families and stuff like that. Like, oh, how could you possibly love all your kids? Dude, my kids feel loved. I promise you that. My kids feel loved. And they feel it not just from my husband and I, but from their siblings. And I guess, you know, everyone's experience with that is different, so I can only speak to ours. There's always someone to play with, there's always someone to talk to, and there's always someone to love you and someone that you can love back. And I think that's one of my very favorite things about having a big family. It just feels like there's just always all this love overflowing. And of course people are fight and things like that, but I'm just talking about like the overall feeling is that it's just like this big family, and we all love each other, and we look after each other, and we take care of each other. And when I cast my vision forward to the future and what it will be like for my children when they're adults and they're married and they're bringing their kids and they've got all these cousins, and it's just like family is having people that are your family, regardless of blood, DNA, any of that stuff, is so important. And those connections are so, so valuable. So I, for one, am so grateful that we have this large family that we do. And sure, maybe my kids won't all get their own rooms and I won't be able to buy them all a car when they turn 16. But that's not the stuff that matters in life. And it irks me so much when people focus on stuff like that. It's not the things. It's not the things I can give my children that will ultimately make them happy. They are loved, they are safe, and the most important of all those is that connection and love, and there's more than enough of it to go around. So that's all I'll say about that for today. I could go on a whole nother rant about children and families and the value of children and all of that. I'm fired up. But that's it for today's Q&A. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I realized this was crazy long and crazy chatty. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for being here for another Vlogmas video. Like I said, I am going to do like my hyperemesis story. I'm going to do the 1 to 3 minute makeup routine. Of course, let me know any other Vlogmas type videos that you would like to see down below in the comments. And I will see you guys again very soon. Bye.